Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well today. In this video, we're discussing the aircraft carriers of Star Citizen. This is going to be a really fun topic as we'll be discussing two very exciting ships, the Kraken and the Liberator. Now, before we get started, if you're enjoying the content, feel free to subscribe. I have memberships open if you'd like to go that extra mile to support the channel, and feel free to join the community Discord. I'll have a link for that down below. With that out of the way, though, let's talk about the awesome aircraft carriers of Star Citizen. Now, before we talk about the ships themselves, what do I mean exactly when I say the aircraft carriers of Star Citizen? Well, that really is just defining it as a ship that carries another ship openly, very similar to our real life aircraft carriers. So, though I could spend this video talking about all the ships that can hold another ship, I'm specifically talking about the ships that have open landing pads. These ships are going to play a great role in things like raiding bases or space stations, but also benefit many different playstyles, such as ship transport and things like mining. So, what is our first ship we are looking at here? Well, that would be the Anvil Liberator. This ship is going to be ideal for anyone that wants this open carrier concept without having to buy up to something like the Kraken. Though that doesn't mean that this ship is small because it absolutely isn't. As a matter of fact, the Liberator is practically the same length as the Ironclad, whilst being about 15 meters wider, if that gives you some perspective. The Liberator also comes with three landing pads, two extra smalls on top, and one extra small in the front of the ship, designed for extremely small ships such as the Argo MPUV. Now, one of the beauties of the ship is that it also offers a really cool interior space, almost garage like, used for not only ground vehicles but also cargo. Similarly to the Hercules, this ship has two ramps, one in the back and one in the front. The extra small landing pad actually acts as part of the front ramp in order to deploy ground vehicles that are stored in the interior. When it comes to the interior space you do have, you can fit basically any size ground vehicle in here, and the two ramps that you have will make that process very seamless. In order to protect those ground vehicles, though, the interior is covered by something similar to a garage door, which is kind of why I call this a garage like interior, making sure that everything you load into the ship is protected from space and potential enemies. Now, technically, the description says it can only fit two ground vehicles. But knowing this community, I know damn well someone will find a way to transport a ton more than just two, probably upwards to 10 or more. Depending on the size of these ground vehicles, you can fit a whole lot in there. So don't take the number two as final for what you can fit in there. Speaking a little bit more on the interior, though, it's going to offer a decent amount for the crew. The cargo storage offers 400 SCU of space. Not a crazy number, but certainly pretty good given that it isn't a cargo hauler. The Liberator will also have 16 jump seats, 16 suit lockers, multiple personal storage lockers, and areas dedicated to guests that you are assisting. This ship will feature a slightly limited arsenal with a size 5 man turret and a remote Gatling as well, but it will also include 16 size 3 missiles. Generally, you can hold a decent amount of fellows on the ship. If you are running some sort of operation, which we're going to talk about things about that in just a second, but if you are running operations and you need seats for other players, you should have plenty of seats and storage for those players. Now that we have some of those details out of the way, though, why is this open carry concept so cool? Well, when looking at it from a non combat perspective, this ship still offers a ton of possibilities. The most basic but essential offering from the Liberator is moving your fleet of ships from one location to the next. Now, of course, given the size, this is mainly suited for smaller ships like fighters or snubs, but this still can be used for numerous different playstyles. Let's use 4.1 as an example. If we have the Liberator in 4.1, which we don't unfortunately, it would make players transporting smaller mining ships like the Drake Golem and the new Atlas Geo much more simple and straightforward. It's basically a flying parking garage regardless of what playstyle you choose. Things like ship transport are a really big aspect of this game that we just don't have yet. There's going to be things like players buying ships off of other players, and they might need transportation for that ship. In that case, you could hire someone that has a Liberator to take that ship for you to a destination of your choice. Or, of course, if you have a Liberator yourself, you can just go pick it up yourself. I think it's a really cool idea. Of course, we don't have ship transport in the game yet, but it still applies to many other playstyles, mining, salvaging, really anything that needs you bringing multiple vehicles to a location. The Liberator is kind of your key vehicle for that. Now, of course, we could talk about it in every single situation possible, but the most exciting and fun, scenario to me personally is a combat scenario. So, similarly to my video over the Ironclad, this ship can be an excellent frontliner for base raids. With its front and back ramps being extremely accessible and the open concept pads, this ship could probably deploy ground forces and air forces within just a few seconds. Now, even though your ship is less protected from enemy fire, being able to take off whilst the ship is in motion will be a game changer. I think this ship fills a very specific role in the verse for players who just want to carry other ships, whether that be in a combat situation or some other like non-combat scenario. I think it'll do a really good job at that, regardless of what situation you're in. And by itself, if we're being honest here, this ship looks really cool as well. The two very large thrusters on it and the landing pads in between it has a very clean but logistical look, and I think that by itself, the looks just make this ship really, really cool. Now, speaking of a ship that looks really cool, we do have to talk about the Drake Kraken. This ship feels like if you were to shove functionality with the rule of cool, and this thing popped out. I really love the look of the Drake Kraken, but it also fills some really cool roles with not only the exterior of the ship, but the interior as well. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. By itself, it has an extremely rugged look. I think that's a very obvious aspect of it, with especially with the thrusters on the back. It's very rugged and intimidating, but also it's clearly designed to look like an aircraft carrier, and that is easily my favorite part of this ship. So, looking at a quick overview, what does this ship have to offer? Well, the first and most obvious is the landing pads on top, two being for larger ships like the Cutlass and four for smaller ones like the Buccaneer. This ship also includes two internal hangars on the side that can house things like Buccaneers as well. Alongside this, there's a Dragonfly bay for quick deployment of hover bikes, and this ship also comes with a whopping 3,792 SCU of cargo. That is just an insane amount of space. I know this is a large ship, but it's incredible that you're going to be able to actually fit that within this thing. The Kraken also has some impressive weapons as well, including one size 8-man turret, four size 6-man turrets, and four size 5 remote turrets. There's no mention of missiles, but with this selection of weaponry, I think you're going to be fine. Now, despite the ship's size, it can still land planetside with these massive landing gear it has. This really gives the Kraken this mobile base feel, and I absolutely love it. Now, similarly with the Liberator, we have to talk about what you can actually use this thing for. And really, it could host a ton of different playstyles like we talked about before. I think the most obvious functionality and the first one we always think of is some sort of fleet battle or space combat situation. And I think that really comes down to the selling point of this vehicle, and that's having the ability to have these aircraft or sorry, spaceships on top of your ship and actually deploy them in a really quick manner. I think that's kind of what brings us to that aircraft carrier open concept that makes the Liberator and the Kraken so appealing is that you can just get ships in the fight really quickly and also consolidate everything once that's all over, which I think is a really, really cool aspect. Now, one of the other things that I personally think about whenever I think of the Kraken is just using it in a mobile based type of environment. If you and your org or group wanted to move your operations or kind of just set yourself up into another system, I think the Kraken would be a really ideal way of doing that, especially if you're going through a more hostile area like Pyro or Nyx. It'll kind of excel in being able to defend itself, but also carry a ton of resources and cargo with it. And this doesn't even include the variant of the Kraken, and that being the Kraken Privateer, which allows you to basically have a mobile shopping mall with you and allow people to have set up shop in different areas of the ship. A really cool concept, but something maybe we talk about another day. Nothing I want to dive into too much in this video. Now, one thing I did want to really quickly talk about before we wrap this up, though, is why haven't we seen the Liberator in the Kraken in game? Yeah, it makes sense. The Kraken is a massive capital class ship. It's going to take time to make, but not 7 years' time. And the Liberator probably does not need a whole 4 years, but it has taken that long to have basically heard anything about it. Now, my personal thoughts are that this open concept design, the one we're making this whole video about, is what makes these ships, problematic probably. I could imagine with how systemic this game is, there could be some issues with placing a ship on top of another ship and expecting it to work the way you want it to work. Of course, I'm no game dev. I don't really know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but based off of the type of issues we currently have in game, it might just need a little bit of time before we get more updated systems to kind of accommodate for something like the Liberator and the Kraken. Now, I wanted to leave it there for this video. I know we didn't get too far in depth as to the actual ship specifics and their histories and whatnot, but I really wanted to nail down that open concept aircraft carrier design because I think it generally just provides a ton of character to these two ships. And also, everyone just wants their Kraken and their Liberator. I've seen it throughout the community so much in my comments and Reddit, everywhere you can find it. Someone out there is just wondering where their Kraken and Liberator is. And honestly, I have no idea, but I just wanted to make a quick video about them because I think they're really cool ships and I simply can't wait to see them in the verse. Besides that, though, how do you feel about these two ships? Do you really enjoy the design, or is it not really your favorite? And when do you think these are going to release? My speculation is probably within the next, 2 or 3 years, but then again, it could be whenever. So you never know. Besides that, thank you so much for watching and being here till the end. I really appreciate you. And if you want to watch some more Star Citizen content, I will have a playlist linked at the end so you can get all of my Star Citizen videos in one spot. Besides that, if you'd like to support the channel, a like and subscribe would mean the world to me. But generally, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.